How's everybody doing?
Loving the springtime.
I know I see you. Oh, look at him eating right there, old Mayor Cotton, having him a nice slice of pizza, it looks like. It looks like Lisa Miller, though, has the best seat in the house, if you ask me. Mayor Cotton, you have your pizza and Mountain Dew, so you're in good shape, right?
I'm ready to go.
Yep. You've got your financial report ready and your NATO report ready, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I thought.
I am very well prepared for this meeting.
I have a request. Can you mute him for the meeting?
Oh, you think so? You afraid that's going to make the meeting go a little bit too long?
Possibility.
We haven't had lunch. Could we cut this thing in about 10 minutes?
I was telling somebody earlier we should have door dashed everyone lunch. You think?
I agree. Then I wouldn't be eating this Tony's pizza from the dollar store.
I would think that you would at least go to Farrell's next door, maybe.
I didn't have time. You've scheduled this meeting at probably the busiest time of my day.
My nap time.
But we're here to accommodate you, sir, and anything that you need. As the director of this organization, we're here to support you, stand behind you, and pick you up where we need to.
Oh, listen to that. I tell you what, that just makes me
bring out the hip waders.
I tell you what, exactly right. Let me see here.
Can you see me, Jason?
Well, no, I don't see you. You just got a black picture with a marked out camera on your screen.
Okay, I've had the makeup department in here working on me. I just want to make sure that I can be.
We know you're here anyways. We'll give everybody several minutes to jump on here. I really appreciate y'all being willing to do this virtually. If you saw our boardroom right now or saw the hallways getting to our boardroom, you would understand why we needed to do this virtually. And plus, none of the audio visual equipment works in the boardroom either. So I guess, Jill, you're in the boardroom. You could probably pan around and or you might be able to describe what's in there. Of course, we've got basically furniture set from all over the office, as well as filing cabinets. We're bringing in, starting to receive presents for the angels that I'm sure Jill will talk a little bit about during her report. That's starting to come in, but we're already making good headway on our remodel project, and actually moving a little bit quicker than we had originally anticipated. So that's always a good thing when things move quicker. Judge Newcomb, I don't know if your little project over there moved as quick as you wanted it to, but it does look like you're moved in and settled into your new office.
Let me get my technology going here. Whoa. Well, no, it did not move as fast as we wanted or needed it to. And in fact, we moved in before they were finished because I got tired of waiting on them. And I said, y'all gonna have to work around us.
Well,
But anyway, it's all coming together.
well, that's good. I'm looking forward to getting over there and seeing it.
Well, I don't know who else is on time, but we're sending out invitations soon. Our dedication and building dedication and open house will be December 7th from 5:30 to 7:30
Okay.
p.m.
Okay. December, say that again.
December 7th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m.
All right. Everybody needs to put that on the calendar. That'll be nice.
Yeah, anybody that would like to come and see what we've done are welcome.
Judge Mansfield, we'll give everybody just a couple more minutes. Judge Mansfield is going to be serving as chair of the meeting today. Chair Carter wasn't able, she has other obligations today and couldn't make it.
Jason said he had asked everyone and he couldn't find anyone. So you got me.
Had to settle it on you there, Judge.
Had to settle for Todd. Sorry.
Oh, shoot.
Sorry in advance.
You will do just fine.
I just appreciate, Todd, you moving the PAX board meeting along as fast as what you did. I think 43 minutes for that first one was a record for the shortest meeting that we've had. So thank you for moving that along.
Well, I don't know that I had anything to do with that, but I'll say you're welcome. So
when they were waiting for a motion, you almost made one, remember?
oh, okay.
I was fixing to say, are you running the PAX board too?
No, I'm not. Mayor Cotton, he sometimes just talks just to talk, I think, maybe. I don't know.
No comment.
Did you really
No,
just
I
say
didn't.
sometimes?
I
All the
didn't.
time.
Well, maybe all the time. So I don't know who said that, but
That was his judge.
oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I've got this cough, so I'd skip meeting in person because I get into this cough, and I figured no one wants to be around it. So virtual is pretty good for me today.
Well, again, it sounds like it did work out for some, but thank you for bearing with us while we did have virtual. I know virtual does make it a little easier some days, but it never is better than in person, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree, and I heard Judge Newcomb mention that earlier, and I do agree with that. But I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm getting sick or what. But anyway, so it's probably best I'm not sitting with everyone today.
Well, Mr. Chairman, from my count, we do have a quorum, and I believe that if you're ready to get started, we'll go ahead and get started because I know everybody's got a busy schedule.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll move right along. We'll call the meeting to order. You should have received the minutes in the board packet that was previously sent out. I need a motion and a second.
Judge Whitfield make a motion.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second.
As
Any
Judge-
questions, comments? If not, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll move right into our financial report with Mayor Kevin Cotton.
All right, so our budget should be at about 33.33%, and we are currently at 25.38%. So you can see that we're well under budget at this point, which is a good thing. One of the things that you might recognize in your packet is that our year-to-date revenue received is only at 21%. And that's pretty well normal as the services that are being funded come in throughout the year. But we are at 25%, 25.38% of the funds expended. And again, we should be at 33.33. So they're doing a great job at keeping us within our margins. And Ms. Alicia, thank you for sending me this information. If anybody has any questions, she will be more than happy to answer those questions for you.
Okay, are there any questions? If not, I'll need a
Approve the
motion.
report.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we got a bunch of seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, quickly to our federal and state reports. I see we have Miss Morgan Albee with Senator Mitch McConnell's office on the call.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. Government devices do not like virtual meetings. So I've got the picture on my computer screen, but I have called in separately on my office phone. So I wanted to make sure that was working okay. First of all, I just want to say, obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends of those 5 soldiers that were lost over the weekend from the 160th SOAR. Our thoughts are just with the whole community as we all mourn that tragic loss. Separately, as everyone knows, this Friday, government funding runs out. The current continuing resolution runs out on the 17th. And so talks are continuing this week to see how that plays out on getting another CR extension and exactly what date that will run to. So we will see how that plays out this week. The only other thing I would add is I know I've heard from several of you on various federal grant applications that you all have in. So I really appreciate you all reaching out on those applications for support letters. If there's anyone else has anything outstanding, please don't hesitate to reach out and see if we can provide a letter of support. As long as it's a competitive federal grant, generally we can. There's a couple of exceptions to that, but please don't hesitate to ever ask any questions. As always, if anyone needs anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.
Hey, Morgan, just one quick question. Do you know, I know that the House came out with their calendar last week. Do you know if the Senate has released their calendar yet?
As far as I'm aware, the Senate has not. That will come out of Senator Schumer's office since he is the majority leader. But to my knowledge, as of today, that hasn't. Traditionally, the Senate calendar comes out sometime in December.
Okay. Just the reason I ask, and if you happen to see a copy of that, Morgan, if you would send that over. The House did send out their calendar last week, and we did see that when our board is up there for our annual Washington fly-in, that the House will be in session that week. If you recall, some of you, that the last couple of years they haven't been in session during that week. Of course, we always take that trip in conjunction with the NATO policy conference. And so the good news is that in March, that the House will be in session. Hopefully the Senate will be in session as well.
Yeah, Jason, as soon as I see that come across, I will send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Moving on, I think we have Mr. Corey Elder with Congressman Comer's office on our call today.
Austin's going to give the report today.
Okay, Mr. Austin Weatherington.
Yes, Corey has delegated that to me today. So everyone, good afternoon. Everyone, just wanted to give a quick House legislative update and hope everyone can hear me as well. But currently the House has passed 7 appropriation bills with 2 or 3 more set to be voted on the floor this week. And like Morgan said, as many of you know, the CR is set to expire this Friday, but work and communication is still being done to extend the CR. And as always, if any of you ever need of a letter of support or have a casework issue, please feel free to reach out to the Congressman's office, to Corey or I, and we'd be glad to help and assist in any way we can. But thank you all.
Great. Thank you, Austin. We have Mr. Representative Walker Thomas on the call today.
Yeah, appreciate you having us. I'm sitting in the car waiting for my mother-in-law. She has a doctor's appointment, so appreciate that. And so it worked out pretty well that it's virtual. I also want to echo Morgan's comments on the death of some of our fighting soldiers at 160th down there. They're neighbors of ours, and 160th especially, because they stay in our community a lot longer. And we just mourn their loss, and hopefully we can do something for their families or something like that along the way. We just finished all of our interim meetings over these last 6 months. That's kind of where we get our guidance and where we're going with different things. As far as veterans, military affairs, we kind of focused pretty heavy on veteran suicide, whether it be National Guardsmen or veterans. And so those are going to be some issues we're going to look. I'm once again going to file the tax exempt for military pensions. I think that would be huge down in this area to get more military living in Kentucky instead of Tennessee. And I do ask that everyone there, if you notice, and Jason Vincent, I know y'all are involved with HB 9 last year, and I think Jason Petrie, Chair Petrie, it's opened up to some more counties a little bit and communities. So make sure if you're on the list to start getting your request in. We're going to try to pull down federal money and state money on that. And I think Jason Petrie is trying to get kind of a total dollar of what we're going to need to fund. We are going into our biennial budget. So we got a 2-year budget that's ahead of us. And we start session, I think, January 2nd. So it doesn't give us much time. So if there's anything y'all think of or need, just feel free to reach out to me.
All right.
Representative, you did mention House Bill 9. In case you have to jump off, I don't know if you'll be able to stay on here the whole meeting. Amy was going to be giving a report, but we have submitted our list for House Bill 9 to Chairman Petrie. And in fact, we've already submitted several applications for that House Bill 9 money. So Amy, I forget what the total number that we submitted as far as potential match, but what was that amount?
The applications that we've already submitted total over $30.3 million in match. So that number that's going to be needed for the entire project list is about twice, almost 3 times that much. So just keep that on your radar if you don't mind.
Great. We appreciate you keeping track of that, and I think it's a great program that we need to see as much federal money as we can pull down, and then we'll try to get the other match. And I think this is great for the communities that were impacted. So thank you for keeping track of that.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We also have Miss Martha Jane King with the governor's office on the call.
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Martha Jane.
You know, that's a shame if I can't talk. Judge Mansfield, I tell you, if they don't quit shelling corn and combining soybeans, we're all going to stay sick for the rest of the year. We do enjoy our counties being in the top 5 of production for agriculture, though, in Kentucky. Okay, so first of all, the governor's going to be at the 49th annual CACO conference tomorrow in Lexington. And then on the 21st, he's going to be kicking off the Red Kettle Christmas in the Rotunda. And that's going to be the 21st. For the upcoming budget, Governor Beshear is going to be asking for an additional $500 million for the cleaner water programs, along with asking for more money for KYTC funding. Of course, all this is contingent on the governor and the legislature working together. So we hope that they will be able to fund these programs as we all need them. And lastly, I want to tell you all congratulations to Alex and Brenna Caudle. They had a baby girl born on election day, and she's the newest member of Team Kentucky, Lorena Janet Caudle. So if you got his email, send him a congratulations. And that is all I have today. Thank you all.
All right, thank you. Are there any other state or federal folks on the call? I didn't see any.
I don't see any either. Judge.
Okay.
Oh, there's Representative Williams. I just saw him pop on.
Okay.
Hey, Jason, how are you? Sorry, I was just a couple minutes late here getting on.
That's all right.
I was on long enough to hear those dollars that we're asking for from House Bill 9, and I'm excited about it. I wish it was 300 million. So keep on the good fight about that. And I think if anybody's going to get it, we might as well be us. So let's keep asking.
Well, we can up that number if we need to.
That's right. Well, I'm doing the road show. I have been attending our city council meetings, and I've been telling them about it. So just in case they ask you, I know we're a little late in the game, but you know, who knows? You never know, something comes up.
Right. Well, as always, thank you for your support, and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
Okay, we will move on to to our staff reports. First, Community and Economic Development with Amy Frogue and Angela Herndon.
Well, we've pretty well given my report, just talking amongst ourselves this morning or this afternoon. But regarding, just want to give you all a quick update on the House Bill 9 activities that we've been participating in. Over the last couple of months, we have been compiling a list of projects to submit to that House Budget Committee and to Representative Petrie that might be eligible for House Bill 9 funding. We do anticipate that language in the original bill and the allocation amount may change during this upcoming session. So Representative Thomas and Williams, if you all would help keep us abreast of that as it changes, we would appreciate that. For our region, we have submitted 34 projects that we're able to link to potential federal funding sources. Those projects total over $370.4 million in total projects funding needed. We used an average match requirement of 20%, even though we know that that's going to vary from federal funding opportunity across the board. That brings the total need for these House Bill 9 projects for the Pennyroyal region for match to $74 million. As Jason said earlier, we have submitted 5 applications already to the grant program, which is what DLG is calling the House Bill 9 application program. And those applications totaled over $30.3 million in requests for House Bill 9 funding. Again, we're going to continue to track the progress of the bill during the upcoming session. And in the meantime, we're going to continue to move forward with those federal applications on behalf of you all that we have on the list for those projects. Currently, speaking of federal funding opportunities, the state revolving fund for water and wastewater infrastructure projects is currently open. That call for projects for the FY25 funding cycle will close on December the 15th. If you have projects that you would like to be considered for this funding, or if you have new projects that aren't currently in the pipeline, please let Kyle or myself know so that we can get those projects on that list. We do have a tentative Water Management Council meeting scheduled for December the 13th. And any new project that you all would like to have considered for that funding will need to be approved by the Water Management Council on that date. One last update that I want to give you before I turn it over to Angela. We are, as the ads collectively, we are currently in discussion with the Kentucky Office of Broadband Development regarding a contract for some services for them related to the PeADD funding. The BEAD funding is broadband equity access and deployment. That's some federal funding, $42 billion in federal funding to expand high-speed internet access across all 50 states. So what we're looking at, and I hope I don't steal Megan's thunder for her presentation, but we're looking at helping the Kentucky Office of Broadband help verify the coverage data that exists for broadband in our region, looking at those unserved and underserved areas. And we'll look at that information and either validate or contest the eligibility of those areas for that BEAD funding as that money rolls out across the state. We will be taking in that data in addition to looking at the RDOF funded areas, as well as those areas that have received funding from ARPA or the state's Better Internet program, and then take that information and create maps for you all to look at. What we want to do is be able to meet with you all and be able to have you look at those areas that say that they're covered and tell us, no, I've received 20 phone calls from this street and they don't have adequate broadband service, or things of that nature, so we can possibly contest those areas to make sure that they are eligible for that BEAD funding. As I understand it at this point, all of that work for that contest process will need to be completed by the end of January. So this is going to happen fairly quickly over the next couple of months. So please stay tuned as we roll this out quickly and help get those areas identified. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Angela to present you all with this year's SEDS update.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all can hear me okay. I'm at a National Scenic Byways conference, and so I hope the technology is working out for me to remote in on this. I'm sure everyone knows it's that time of year that we look over our SEDS, which is our Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. It's a requirement that we have that in order for us to be designated by EDA as an economic development district. But for those of you who maybe haven't read it from page to page, because it is quite an exciting page turner, it is a strategy-driven plan that we use to influence and drive our economic development. And all of the grants that we do and all of the progress that we are making from an economic development perspective in our region. Part of those requirements is that we put it out for public review, and once that has been publicly reviewed, we bring it to you all for the approval of a resolution in support of the strategy before we submit it to the EDA. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have about that document today, or if there's something anytime that you want to talk about as it relates to the SEDS, I'm happy to have those conversations offline.
All right. Any questions for Amy or Angela? All right. If not, we will move on to Area Agency on Aging and Independent Living with Jill Collins.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. As Jason said, I'm joining from the boardroom today. My office is part of the first round of remodeling and updates. So I am here in the boardroom, and so you can kind of see all the chairs and everything behind me. We're moving a lot of stuff around today. But I would like to start off by saying thank you to our veterans who have joined us on the board meeting today. Both our board members and our staff. Thank you from the Area Agency on Aging and the Area Development District for your service. As you all know, our agency as a whole provides a lot of programs and services for our veterans. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about our veteran-directed care program that we offer through the Area Agency on Aging. We have been operating the veteran-directed care program since 2016. As you know, we've talked about it quite a bit over the years. And we do serve Kentucky and Tennessee through our program. We have what is called a hub and spoke model, and it has been very successful. We were the first in the nation to actually oversee the program in more than one state. And so we've expanded the program throughout Kentucky and Tennessee during that time. But I am really excited about a great opportunity that we have, and we've been working on this for several months now, and we'll continue to work on it for several months moving forward. But we are one of 5 super hubs in the nation, meaning that we oversee the program for more than one state. So we're one of only 5 super hubs across the country that do that. And we've been approached by our federal partners at ACL, the Veterans Administration, and the Lewin Group to have a role in expanding veterans-directed care across the nation. And so as we move forward, PeaDD is going to be involved in expanding the program into 5 additional states, as well as expanding the current reach that we have with the program in Tennessee. And as I said, this will be done in phases, and this will be rolled out in quarters. And so our partners with the contracts will be the medical centers in the states that we're looking at. And as we move forward into 2024, I'll be able to expand a little more on the details of what this will look like. But the program is getting ready to really take off nationwide, and we're just really thankful and excited that we have a major role in bringing this program to veterans throughout the country. And I'll be able to announce more about what those states are and the additional medical centers that our programs will be contracting with as we get those in place. But I felt like now was a really great time on the heels of Veterans Day to let you know what we're doing, and just the level of opportunity that we have been given, and the impact that this is going to have not only locally but nationwide. So we're very excited about that. We have staff here at the office that are very involved with that, both on the program side and on the finance side. And so we've been having regular meetings with our federal partners to talk about how this is going to roll out and what it's going to look like for us and for those additional states that we're going to be bringing on. And so as we get a little more solid information on our contracts, I'll be talking even more about this as we move throughout the calendar year of 2024. I also want to provide an update on a pilot project that we've been part of for the last several months. And we have partnered with the National Foundation to End Senior Hunger to do a pilot to talk about and record and study food waste. As you know, we provide meals cooked hot in our senior centers 5 days a week. And I think you should be able to see a slide that Melissa has up on the screen right now. And so Christian County Senior Center was our test site. And so they've been working with the National Foundation to End Senior Hunger to record any food waste, not only on the plate at the end of the meal service, but also any overproduced food. And we have a really good program and process in place on how we plan for our menus and how we plan to have enough food to serve people that may not have put in a reservation for lunch. And so what we found out as a result of the pilot that we participated in is that the unserved food waste in our senior center is really low. It's very low, actually, at only 1%. And so that includes discarded or uneaten food that was at a low 1%. And we did see that more than half of that that was considered discarded, those were vegetables. And so what we'll do is we'll work with our dietitian in planning those menus to look at specific food items that may not be as popular, and then also work with our participants on nutrition education as well. But we did learn a lot from this, and we'll continue to work with our provider on our reservation system. Individuals can call a day ahead of time. They can put their name on the list for the whole week if they want. But we always make sure that we have enough food extra at every senior center so that if we have a new visitor or someone that comes for the first time, then we will have enough to make sure that everyone that comes that day is provided with a meal, and then we will educate them on that reservation system. So as we move forward with this year, we'll also be continuing our work with the National Foundation to End Senior Hunger and work to make our reservation system even stronger so that we can keep our food waste at the very minimum as much as possible. And so we were just excited to be given the opportunity once again to participate in a national pilot. We have hired a few new staff since the last time we met in person, and I'm just going to introduce them. I know you won't be able to see them stand like you normally would, but they are on the call today. But Destiny Ash is a new case manager with home care in Title III. Destiny herself is a veteran with the Army. We have Megan Monique Young, who is also a case manager with home care in Title III. And then we have Lauren Washington, who is a new case manager with our home and community-based waiver program. So the next time we're all together in person, you all have the opportunity to meet them in person as well. And then the last thing I have on my report today, and you'll be able to find this in your packet, it is time once again for our Forgotten Angels Christmas project. It's one of our biggest projects that we have, and that is spearheaded by Cindy Tabor, our long-term care ombudsman. And this Christmas project provides Christmas to residents in our personal care homes. And it is estimated that we'll be able to serve around 400 individuals again this year. And so the drop off for those gifts begins on December the 1st. And if you have questions or need more information, you can look in your packet, or you could reach out to myself or Cindy Tabor regarding that. And so I do thank you for your time this afternoon. And if you have any questions on any of the items that I've talked about, I would be happy to answer those. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Jill? If not, we will move to West Kentucky Workforce Board with Derek Poor.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me know. I think I've got my mute turned off. So obviously Veterans Day weekend has passed, but I'm going to share a little bit about the history of the origins of Veterans Day today, along with highlighting some issues that affect veteran employment, share some information about the recent Fort Campbell activities, as well as our staff trip to the SETA conference. So I pulled the following information from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs history page and the verification assistance brief used to determine veteran status when we talk about what is a veteran. World War I, known as the Great War, officially ended when the Treaty of Versailles was signed on July 28, 1919, in the Palace of Versailles outside the town of Versailles, France. However, fighting ceased 7 months earlier when an armistice, or temporary cessation of hostilities between allied nations and Germany, went into effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. For that reason, November 11th, 1918 is generally regarded as the end of the war to end all wars. Of course, we know that that was not the case. We've spent some time in a few other places since then. Veterans Day continues to be observed on November 11th, regardless of what day of the week on which it falls. The restoration of the observance of Veterans Day to November 11th not only preserves the historical significance of the date, but helps focus attention on the important purpose of Veterans Day, a celebration to honor America's veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. So what is a veteran? A veteran is a person who served in the active military, naval, or air service and was discharged or released under conditions other than dishonorable. The term also applies to a reservist or member of the National Guard called the Federal Active Duty, or disabled from a disease or injury incurred or aggravated in the line of duty or while in training status. Those individuals also qualify as veterans. I'd like to add before moving forward, a lot of activities were taking place this weekend with different communities hosting Veterans Day parades. This was the first time in, I guess, the 4 years since I retired, I chose to participate in the Veterans Day parade in Hopkinsville, and I was fortunate to be able to share that opportunity with my dad, who was a Vietnam veteran, who also chose for the very first time to ride in the parade. So it was nice being able to have that moment with him. So talking about veteran employment, I hope everybody can see this, and if you can't read it, I'll read it for you. It says, so in conclusion, I think my time managing logistics in Afghanistan makes me a perfect fit for VP of operations at your company. And the employer response is, the best I can do is thank you for your service. Now, some people might think, oh, that's a hit on an employer. Absolutely not the case. When I began putting things together for this presentation, I came across this, and it reminded me of a conversation I had with an employer and two transitioning service members. Both of these individuals had pretty much the same level of education, although they attended different schools. They were separated in rank in that one was an officer and one was an enlisted service member. But the interesting part about it was the employer I spoke with said that the interview process went, it was a little different from anything they had ever experienced before, where one individual walked in and said, hey, I'm going to make it real easy on you. $90,000. You're welcome. I can come in and run the entire operation. And they said, okay, well, we appreciate your time, and HR will get back to you. And the second individual came in and said, hey, look, man, I'm just looking for something in the $50,000 to $55,000 range. Can you guys work with me on that? And, again, they said, hey, HR will call you right back. Right now, I know which one HR called back, and it was not the one who came in feeling like they were the gift that they were looking for. But a lot of that kind of plays into some of the conversations that we have, or that I have with a lot of our transitioning service members, which is expectation management, as well as being educated into what is that interview process going to look like and how should they conduct themselves about it as well. So some challenges that veterans face. So our Career Center staff, as well as the Fort Campbell personnel who work daily to help veterans, military spouses, and transitioning service members find meaningful employment opportunities. These efforts go far beyond just impacting the veteran unemployment rate. These efforts are also keeping the lights on in someone's home. Their efforts are keeping the clothes on someone's back and food in a child's stomach as well. The efforts may even be keeping someone from writing a eulogy for their best friend. Unfortunately, service members are separating from the military, not just Fort Campbell, who desperately need assistance. Some soon-to-be veterans face physical limitations. Others may be battling unseen injuries, such as the trauma from a near-death experience or the debilitating effects of a brain injury. Unfortunately, each point can be problematic for an individual who is well prepared to separate. So imagine, if you can, the stress and frustration when someone is unprepared and what they might endure with these complicating factors. So while we realize the importance of helping someone secure employment and find a job or career where they feel complete and empowered, veterans also have that same goal. Many also contend with separating from a population or a peer group unlike any other. So I'm not asking employers to retool the interview or hiring process. What I am asking is for employers to take a moment and realize the individual they're talking to may be facing any one of the previously mentioned concerns. That service member or veteran may, in fact, have every ounce of hope riding on that interview. And I also understand people walk into our career centers and employer offices daily facing their own unique challenges. So some numbers I found in a document prepared by the Division of Nursing and Public Health pointed out that 82% of veterans who served in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom report chronic pain. Chronic pain is often associated with comorbid conditions, including traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder, both of which complicate treatment. Chronic pain can easily lead to depression, which has a snowball effect on every other aspect of life. The National Coalition for Homeless Veterans found that 51% of homeless veterans suffer from a disability. 50% suffer from a serious mental illness, and 70% have substance use disorders. On the subject of suicide, we've heard talked about earlier, veterans are at a 57% higher risk of committing suicide than their peers who never served. I'm not throwing numbers out to be depressing, but it's essentially just to let you know a little bit more about some of those people that might be coming into your office, or the individuals that are hoping to come onto your staff or join your company. Again, that's not to influence who you hire or how you go about interviewing folks, but I would ask you to keep those points in mind when it comes to that interview process with a veteran, especially if it's a situation in which they do not have a terrific interview process or bomb the interview altogether. It happens to the best of folks. So talking about our workforce partners, that we have a huge collective of individuals and agencies who go a long way to do what they can in helping these populations. We can find help and assistance for veterans through training and employment opportunities. A collective workforce group accomplishes that task, starting with the Transition Assistance Program Office at Fort Campbell. It's the collective goal of the Transition Assistance Program and its partners to create opportunities and environments where their clients have an increased opportunity for an interview or job offer. These environments include employer day events, industry days, company job fairs, and quarterly multi-day job fair activities. Additional partner agencies in the Career Skills Program Office, Spouse Employment Office, and USO Transitions are equally integral to the process through internships, training and employment programs, and community engagement events. In addition to the on-post partners, our off-post partners and employers play a significant role in the successful outcome of a transitioning service member. Recently, the human resources team from Toyota Boshuku and Ascend Elements met with a group of transitioning service members where they discussed career interests, reviewed resumes, and connected through meaningful conversation. On Tuesday of last week, I had the pleasure of attending a meet and greet with several members of GE's corporate HR team as they met with the Transition Assistance Program Director. The team also met with soldiers from the Special Operations Unit, where they had the opportunity to ask questions about their service and get a peek at the dynamic environment that they work in daily. Provided the employers a great opportunity and understanding of a service member or veteran's capabilities and skills. And I think it's worth noting at this time, the unit that we visited was the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the same unit that lost 5 service members over the weekend. Beyond the local effort, the Kentucky Chamber and the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board are also developing pathways to veteran recruitment, military spouse employment, and military retention. Some efforts include sharing information about the Society for Human Resource Professionals' free online Veterans at Work certificate, attending job fairs at Fort Campbell and Fort Knox, and gaining feedback from a panel of veterans who have successfully transitioned into the civilian workforce. I'm fortunate to have been asked to participate and assist in some of the efforts. So as I previously mentioned, the Transition Assistance Program Office aims to create opportunities and environments where their clients may succeed. Those opportunities and environments come in the form of weekly and quarterly job fair activities. There were 9 job fairs on Fort Campbell during the month of October, 2 of which were considered quarterly events that saw over 600 people walk through the doors. I am grateful for these partnerships that allow me to share information about jobs and activities in our community that might be of interest to a service member or their family. I've got some information posted up, the Fort Campbell Workforce Points of Contact. Ms. Ann Fugate is the Fort Campbell Transition Center Director. Ms. Melissa Up, Transition Services Specialist. I'll speak about her role here again in one moment. Geneva Hauser, Employment Readiness Program Specialist for Spouse Employment. And Teresa English, the Career Skills Program Region 1 Coordinator. These individuals are vital to the transitioning service members, military spouses at Fort Campbell and the communities as well when we have that collaborative effort. So before closing, I would also like to talk a little bit about our staff trip to SETA, the Southeastern Employment and Training Association's Fall Conference, and the 50th anniversary celebration we had at Orange Beach, Alabama. So each trip to SETA always allows our workforce team to share and gain new ideas, discuss best practices, and gain insight into our peers' work across the region. Several speakers touched on the diversity in age seen in the workplace, with more and more of our senior population continuing to stay active and employed. I attended a session on veteran hiring, which showcased the efforts of 4 individual agencies working together to keep veterans off the street and in the workforce. A contributing factor in that effort was the city of Opelika, Alabama, which created their own career skills program with the local military installation. In doing this, they created an opportunity for transitioning service members to enter their community and complete an internship within a city department. The conference was topped off with a wonderful beachside dinner, Polynesian dancers, and a fire dance performance, and a beautiful fireworks show that everybody enjoyed. I say everybody, that's not totally accurate. I spent the fireworks portion of the evening in my room with a terrible migraine, but I know everybody else had a really good time. So to wrap up, if anyone would like to join me, if you, an employer or a member of your community, would like to join me for a day at Fort Campbell at the Transition Assistance Program office, before taking the plunge and going solo, please reach out to me. I'm happy to assist and make connections along the way any way that I can. And again, Miss Melissa Up is the current Transition Services Specialist and point of contact at the Transition Assistance Program office. So pending any questions, this completes my presentation.
Are there any questions for Derek? If not, we will move to new business. The monthly Code of Ethics report, there are no issues to report, which is always good. Next, we have our guest speaker. Today we have with us Megan Sandfoss joining us. Megan is the Executive Director of the Kentucky Office of Broadband Development. She is no stranger to the PeADD world, as she previously served as Director of Community and Economic Development Programs at Northern Kentucky PeADD. Megan, thanks for joining us, and the virtual floor is yours.
All right, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I was all prepared to drive down to Pennyrile today, but then Jason told me you moved virtual because there's a construction project going on in the office, and I said great, because it's a busy week and you know, in a busy time for us. So I will share my screen and go through my presentation. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So I'll give you a kind of a summary of where we are on our broadband deployment programs. Can everybody see that? I'm on a different screen now, so I can't see my Zoom screen. So the office was established during the 2022 General Assembly to administer broadband deployment funding in the Commonwealth. We are the central broadband planning and coordination entity for the state of Kentucky. So that legislation established Kentucky's broadband deployment priorities. The first priority was to the no service locations having slower than 10 megabits down and 1 megabit upload speeds. So that's really the critically unserved areas. And then the under 25.3 locations were the next priority, and then followed by the underserved areas, which we really haven't started to address yet with the funding that we've distributed. The statute also set a higher priority and state grant funding share for unserved areas that were less dense. And we saw a lot of applicants in that second round of funding request, you know, up to the 70% grant funding for those locations. Projects that there's no other public funding available for, and then a preference for gig symmetrical speeds with 100 megabit symmetrical minimum. So we're about 1 year into the Office of Broadband Development. I started in September of 2022. So we've been working on stakeholder engagement, managing the first round of grants that were distributed in the summer of 22, getting the second round out the door. We have a pole replacement grant that opened up in September of 2022 for utility pole replacement for unserved areas, getting the website up, and then working on building the capacity of the office through hiring staff and contracting with the consultants. We were awarded our BEAD initial planning funds. That was $5 million that the NTIA awarded us to go through the planning process for the BEAD program, which we're neck deep in right now. We had our capital projects fund plan approved. That's $182 million for deployment projects. That's the majority of the funding that we distributed in September. We challenged the FCC map. We challenged just over 15,000 locations, disputing the availability of broadband service at those locations. in order to increase the amount of funding that we were eligible for for BeADD. And we were successful in winning over almost all of those challenges. So that really helped us, achieve the maximum amount of funding that we were eligible for. We have a statewide broadband map available on our website. We have completed our 5-year action plan for BeADD, and we are in the initial proposal stage right now. We've got volume 2 out for public comment until December 4th. So the Better Internet Program grants, these are the ones that we awarded in September. These were prioritizing the no service locations with the 100 by 100 symmetrical speeds, last mile fiber projects, and having to be operational by the end of 2026. This is kind of overall the landscape. The first round announced in June 22, that was about $90 million for 47 projects around the state for 34,000 new locations. The pole replacement funding is open. We just started distributing some of that money, but we still got the bulk of the $20 million available. And then the capital projects fund money that was distributed in September, awarded in September, 56 projects for 42,000 new locations for the no service priority. And then we are working on getting the BeADD funding ready to be distributed. So that was, our allocation was announced in June. And in Pennyrile, we've made several awards for broadband projects. There were, in the first round, there was Caldwell County, 3 projects in Christian County, 1 in Lyon, 1 in Todd, and 1 in Trigg, and that was all Pennyrile Rural Electric Cooperative. We've been working with them on getting these projects ready to go to construction. In the second round, we had more projects awarded: Caldwell County, Christian County, Hopkins County, Logan, Lyon, 2 projects in Muhlenberg, 1 in Todd, and 1 in Trigg. So we had good participation from Pennyrile providers on getting broadband service to your residents. I know there's still more work to do, and hopefully we will get there in the BeADD funding. So we have $1.1 billion coming for the BeADD program, and that was a really good number for us. We were hoping to be above $1 billion, and we made it over that threshold. So we are hoping to be able to reach everybody with that. Nationwide, it's a $42 billion program, and every state was guaranteed $100 million. And the remainder was to be distributed through a formula based on the number of unserved and high cost locations in each state. And now I was really surprised looking at the areas that were determined to be high cost locations in Kentucky. I was thinking they would be in Eastern Kentucky, but actually it was mostly the area between Lake Barkley and Kentucky Lake. The land between the lakes was basically the high cost area in Kentucky. But we did get the 15th largest allocation in the nation, so we were pretty happy about that. So our planning funds were awarded last year. Our allocation was announced in June. We submitted our 5-year action plan in August, and we're working on our initial proposal right now. We've got one part, the challenge process part, volume 1 has been out for public comment and completed that, and we're working on the revisions before we can submit it. And then the grant plan, which is volume 2, is out for public comment right now. And so once we get this approved, we will have to identify all of our subrecipients within 1 year. So we'll have 1 year to go through a competitive grant process to allocate all $1.1 billion to get all Kentucky residents served. So during the planning process for the 5-year action plan, we went around the state. We did the listening tour in alignment with the digital equity plan with the Education and Labor Cabinet. We were out at Pennyrile, I think in February last year. We traveled around the state in February and March. And then we have also been meeting with stakeholders and from industry, workforce development, healthcare, and state and local government since all throughout this on a daily basis. So every state has to determine how and where the BEAD funds will be used. And while fiber optic internet is our priority, we have to determine, at what dollar figure we will start to look at other technologies to reach people. And this is important for areas where there might be one house is going to cost several $100,000 to reach. That might be a case for an alternate technology rather than building to one customer and spending that much money. So we will have a competitive process to distribute the funds, and we have to describe how all of this is going to be done in our initial proposal by the end of December. And we've got that out on our website if you wanted to read through that. So in addition to the federal funds that I've talked about that come through the office, there are other federal programs that are active in broadband right now. The FCC's RDOF program, the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, is one that is going through a lot of construction right now, and that will take a lot of the unserved locations statewide kind of out of the contention for BEAD. There are a lot of areas in the state that have commitments in those areas to be built out by the end of 2030 through the RDOF program. The USDA rural development programs like Reconnect and Community Connect have also made really big strides in covering some of the very rural projects. I think mostly in Eastern Kentucky, although some of the telephone cooperatives in the western part of the state have participated in those programs. And then ARC and the DRA also have some funding available for broadband, not as much as the other federal programs, but those are sometimes used as matching funds for projects, as well as your local ARPA funds. And we saw a lot of projects have participation from fiscal courts with ARPA funds being contributed to grant programs. So through the IIJA, in addition to the BEAD funding, there were an additional $88 million of funding put into Kentucky for broadband deployment. So there's a lot going on on that front, and we're seeing a lot of those projects start to go to construction, and I get calls on them a lot, and sometimes I have to make a couple phone calls myself to determine who the funding agency is and who that project belongs to, because sometimes it's not us. Here's my contact information. I would encourage you to reach out if you've got any questions. We would like to see a lot of participation from the local governments on our state challenge process, when we will look at the maps and make sure that we haven't determined an area to be ineligible for grants when there's not either a commitment to build there or service there or a grant available for that area already. So we just want to make sure that we don't miss anybody, and we will need input from you all to do that. So that is all I have. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer your questions right now.
Are there any questions for Megan?
Hey, Megan, this is Judge Whitfield.
Yes.
Just looking at some of the numbers on the grants and the houses served, seemed like they were way just all over the place. Hopkins County was almost 10 million for just 333 houses.
That might have been wrong, actually. That you say that. Is that?
I hope so, because I saw some others were 5 million and were 800.
Yeah,
houses.
I was trying to let me look at that and see what that actually is, because that doesn't sound right to me either. Now that you say that, might have just not changed that number.
Because I think Spectrum tends to be one of the highest cost providers to actually get the service to people. So
yeah, and we did see see the awards kind of come in all over the place, and it really did depend on the density of the projects. Hopkins County project. It's 817 locations, which is still not a huge amount for $10 million, but that what I suspect happened there is that they had a number of locations that were eliminated during the challenge process, but it still doesn't mean that they don't have to build the same number of miles of fiber to get to customers. So that might work out in some areas where there's another provider that is available for customers to get service from. So the density really depends sometimes.
Yeah, Megan, this is Judge Newcomb, Crittenden County. When you say density, are you speaking of units served per mile, or
yes.
how? Okay, so there again, in these rural, extreme need areas that obviously do not have the density but have an extreme need, and the cost per unit served is much less than what's being awarded, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow to figure out exactly what's going on.
Yes. I think you know, the rules that the legislature you know, passed related to the broadband priorities, usually you would incentivize a project that, you know, you're getting the most bang for your buck, but realizing that there's a market issue that they're trying to correct with these funds, you know, in that if without a subsidy, they're unlikely to ever happen. That's why they kind of put that opposite. They put, you know, give more money to the projects are harder to serve.
One other question I had on one of the slides, it said where no other public funds are available.
Yes.
I had planned on doing a county grant for about $2 million just for broadband.
Mm-hmm.
Will that knock us out of the state funding? Because then that means public funds are available.
That that will not knock you out because there's a required match available. Is that what are you talking about, doing matching funds for a project?
No, I will actually look at, if I give somebody $2 million, what company is going to get to the most households that are unserved?
Okay. So that would mean that if, you know, if you put that out for an RFP and somebody submitted a plan and included those addresses in that proposal, that would knock it out of contention for the federal grants. Unless it was meant to be the match for a grant program.
That would knock that area out, or
yes, that area would
as long I don't care if that area is knocked out as long as they get served.
Right. Yeah. It would restrict, you know, that would be considered an enforceable commitment, which is, you know, could be a private or public funding commitment to a specific area. But, you know, I would just encourage you to make sure that you're explicit in what is covered in that program and not make it vague, because the vaguer it is, the more likely it could be contested, or, you know, cause a problem and eliminate things from consideration.
Okay.
And we want to make sure that doesn't happen. We want to make sure that you know, every unserved customer, we know who they are or where they are, and you know, make sure that we've identified areas where there's service coming, it's just not there right now.
Yeah, and I guess we would depend on your maps to determine those unserved areas, and then once they hooked up however many households, we'd update that.
Yes.
With that information.
Yeah. Is that
Jason probably needs internet?
Yes. You are exactly right. Megan, just one question
sure.
that I have, and I know I have always, and I think most folks have always considered the quote satellite opportunities for broadband has really not been, you know, provided the appropriate type service to say that an area is served. However, I know that we're having some of like the Elon Musk, Starlink, those type programs are coming in, but they're very expensive. How does that impact the mapping when you have that going on?
So satellite up to now is not considered reliable internet service. So any area that is shown on the national broadband map is only having satellite or unlicensed fixed wireless is is still eligible for BEAD funding. And so, but that being said, there might be, like limited cases where we have to look at some of those solutions where there's no other takers, from a fiber or licensed or coax provider to come in and serve them, that we would have to look at an unlicensed fixed wireless or satellite solution, but they would still have to meet the same 100/20 minimum technology, that would be the lowest speed that they would be able to provide. The latency would have to meet the requirements. So, it's holding them to a higher standard than they're probably used to being held to right now. Starlink has kind of come to the table with some of the answers to these questions, because one of the issues that everyone has had nationwide with them is there's waiting lists. And so, as a state office, when they're talking about participating in this program, I want to know how, we can move our people to the front of the list. And that what they propose, and they're still working out some of the details, is that they would come in and set up a site where Kentucky people who have been, identified as the locations where this is the solution that we've chosen could go in and apply and kind of circumvent the waiting list process. And that's and then potentially doing some, the state would underwrite the cost of the installation, and potentially some of the rates that are required to be paid for the monthly service, because it is an expensive solution.
That's really good to hear, because I know on the Starlink side of things, it's something we've been looking into, and I know that it's I think the initial fee for the installation is $600. I know that's not something that's feasible for a lot of our citizens, but it sounds like if there's an opportunity maybe in the future that you could utilize some of these funds to assist with that's good.
Yeah, so that's definitely something we are going to consider, because there are going to be locations where that's going to be the best use of public funds.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Megan, for being with us today.
All right.
We'll move to the director's report, Mr. Jason Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Megan, again for being here. As the chairman said, when Megan came on, she knows all about the ads, as she was one of us at one point. So it's good to have close friends and family in those offices in Frankfort. So and just so you all know, Megan, when you reach out to her, she responds, and it's great to she's doing a wonderful job up there with tackling a huge issue. So thanks, Megan, for joining us. Again, thanks to everyone for doing this virtual today. Hopefully, which we will be moving our next meeting to Pennyroyal Forest, and I'll talk more about that here in just a second. But hopefully come January, we'll be back on our normal schedule right here in our office, and you all will be able to come see all of our new digs around here. So again, thank you for doing this for us today. Just a couple of items I want to mention. I'll be very brief, as I know we've already passed the 2 o'clock hour. The Kentucky Council of Area Development Districts will be hosting a reception as part of the inauguration, which I believe Martha Jane, is scheduled to take place on December the 12th, which is the second Tuesday of December. And so some of you all that may have been around the last governor's inauguration, we have our office there in Frankfort is one of the best locations you can find in Frankfort, and it's a good place to watch the parade. And so we're going to be partnering with KCJEA, the magistrates, KMCA, KCO, and Mayor Cotton. We have also invited KLC as well. so we're going to be hosting a reception there, sort of come and go, for people to come watch the parade. We're going to be serving lunch. J.C. Young with the magistrates and commissioners will have his grill there, cooking his famous pork chops and chicken. And so if you're planning to go to the inauguration ceremonies on December the 12th, please come join us at our office there on Capitol Avenue. I'll be sending out a more formal invitation as we get closer to that. I mentioned our next board meeting will not be here at our office. It'll be our annual Christmas board luncheon and our legislative update. I'm not sure if Representative Thomas or Representative Williams are still on here. But in addition to just our general Christmas luncheon, that will also be the time that we hear from our legislators as far as about the upcoming session. This is going to be a big session coming up. It's the budget session, as you all know, and so we'll be hearing from them, talking about some of our priorities. So that will be on December the 11th. So go ahead and put that on your calendars. December the 11th at Pennyroyal Forest State Park in Dawson Springs. Again, more information will be coming up about that very, very soon. One thing we did not do earlier in the meeting that we probably need to go back to real quickly, Angela Herndon did present the information about the comprehensive economic development strategies. Those strategies the draft form has been on our website for a couple of months now at this point. I believe she has emailed that out. So, Mr. Chairman, Melissa, if you could pull up that resolution, if you have that, we do need to pass this resolution. It is in the board packet, but we do need to pass the resolution so that our SEDS is approved.
Motion to approve the resolution. It's in our board packet.
Okay.
Second, Judge Newcomb.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. We just returned from the annual NATO training conference late Friday evening. We had several of our staff that attended, Amy, Melissa, and myself, as well as Mayor Kevin Cotton, our chair, Chrissy Carter, and also Judge Gruber from Livingston County had a very nice conference in Cleveland. And so, Mayor Cotton, is there anything you'd like to say about the conference?
Yeah, so it was a great conference. You know, there was a lot of question of why in the world are we going to Cleveland in November, but it was a very good trip. The reason that Chrissy is not here with us today is on our way home, we were able to tour the Christmas tree house or the Christmas story house, and there were a lot of elves, and she just got mixed in with all of those folks, and then we lost her from that point. So I'm not sure she'll make it back at some point, probably after the Christmas season. But it was a great trip. Judge Gruber made it up for a couple of the days. You know, one of the things that we learn from going to these events are, number one, networking with other communities across the nation that are struggling and challenges with some of the same things that we deal with. And some of them have done really good at overcoming some of that and have some ideas that we can bring back. One of the sessions that I was able to attend was the housing session and what the gap looks like. And it's very interesting to hear from other communities. And one of the communities that we heard from was in Arizona, and how they were trying to fill in that gap of need of housing based off of their workforce needs. Really kind of great information there. Disaster response was another one of the ones that I was able to attend. I tried to go to the ones that the staff wasn't going to. Some of them I went to. there was a reason that the staff wasn't going, and they didn't share that with me. So I sat through it and suffered through some of that. But on the disaster response side, it was interesting to hear from at the table that I was sitting at. We had folks from Maine down to Texas, out in Utah, Colorado, Oregon, and just hearing what some of their challenges were and what some of our challenges are. It's truly every disaster is its own, right? So trying to be ready for and planning for all the different types of disasters is a true challenge. But I will say that we were able to share with our group that Kentucky League of Cities has put out a great disaster response plan. It's like 164 pages long. If you haven't seen that, I encourage you to get that. It will work for you, whether you're a county, whether you're a city. But we were able to share that with some of the cities that we were sitting with. I know that the board, more of the staff went to engaging the board and learning how to get us as board members more involved with what's going on and excited about what the PeADD has going on in our community. Also, storytelling was a big one. That's the one thing I think that we fail in across the nation is really what the impacts that the ad districts have on our communities. We don't tell that story enough. And that was one of the sessions was about storytelling. And under the engaging the board, what we learned is that how important that it is for us as individuals, as leaders, to have our own personal board, a group of folks that we can lean on, a group of folks that will tell us the truth. And it was really cool. I can't wait to see what all comes out of it. I know that Jason and the team have been working already on what they've taken away from that and how to apply that into what we're doing as an agency. And then I know that Amy was able to attend the diversity and inclusion for rural areas. It's interesting when you sit in front of a group of individuals from all over the nation, and you've got super large districts, and then you've got the rural districts, and the challenges and struggles that they face in more of an urban area are completely different than what we face in a rural area. So just learning, how we can do better and what are some opportunities that we have. I think it was great. We did kick it off at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I wasn't real sure that we were going to get Melissa and Amy out of there. I'm pretty sure security was called on the fourth floor when they were trying to take some of the gear out of the display cases. But I don't think they walked away with anything successfully that we're aware of. But it was a great trip. I was excited to be able to go and look forward to DC.
Thank you, Mayor. Wow, what a comprehensive report there.
And you didn't think I was paying attention.
He was paying attention. I will say this, one thing that I always come away with from those conferences is it just makes me more proud of what we've got going on here in the Pennyroyal area. To hear some other folks talk about, their boards, some of the projects they're struggling with, some of just the general struggles that they go through. And I just think back, wow, aren't we lucky with what we're able to accomplish here in our region and the leadership that we have. But as the mayor did say, a lot of the sessions that the staff attended had to do with board member engagement. Not to say that you all aren't engaged, because you are. I mean, we're never one of those groups that have an issue with like getting quorums or having folks participate in, but we are going to be, we did hear some good ideas of some things to do.
One thing that was very interesting, Jason, was the amount of agencies that were very impressed with what we had, what they saw that we had as a team. And you might address that a little bit more, but just as the camaraderie and the connections that we were making, there were agencies, honestly, that seemed jealous or envious of what that relationship looks like because they don't have that.
Mm-hmm. And you're exactly right. And many of you all, especially, and I always say this when we have our new board member orientation, we go on these conferences for a number of reasons. Obviously, to talk to other folks across the nation and get ideas and hear about good things that are happening across the country, and things that we could bring back to our area. But equally as important, or maybe even more important, is the relationship that we build with each other as far as from the Pennyroyal region. And that's exactly what the mayor is talking about. I know I had at least 3 or 4 people come up to me and said, wow, I wish we had a group as cohesive as your all's group, who worked well together. So I'm proud of that. And again, that's one thing that these events really help us with. So just a little bit of a nod as far as our next conferences. It's already been mentioned. We'll be going to DC in the late winter, early spring. That's the first part of March. More information will be coming out of that. And then there will be another annual training conference next fall. And I think that's scheduled to be in New Orleans next year, if I'm not mistaken. So anyways, thank you, Mayor, for that update. Mr. Chairman, I believe, unless there are any questions for me, I believe that's all I have.
All right. Any questions for Jason or Mayor Kevin Cotton? I can't wait to hear Chrissy's report on the ELF experience come December or January. So
I bet you're going to hear it. I bet you're going to hear it once she finds out what was said. I'm guessing.
This is not recorded, is it?
All right. I know everyone's busy. Is there any other business before us today?
We had 5 or 6 checks on 2 different roads.
I think maybe that's a hot mic, but if not, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, sign off.
See y'all later. Thank you.
Thank you.